Hey, 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 hey.
So then it's a pleasure for me to welcome you here to the SME tent. This conversation will go in English. That's only because of Abhishek Ramavat and also some people in the audience. Hearty welcome, and it's an interesting topic, I think. AI is no longer something that's coming in the future. It's already in our businesses, and sometimes because management has made a conscious decision to introduce it, and sometimes simply because employees have started using it. For small and medium-sized businesses, that creates enormous opportunities, but it also creates a lot of different risks. And cybersecurity is no longer simply about protecting computers and systems. Increasingly, it's about protecting people, information, decisions, reputation, trust, and ultimately the ability of the business to operate. So today, I'd like to make this a very practical discussion. And with me in this discussion, I have a very competent panel, I would say. It's Abhishek Ramavat from the company Tech AGRIM, which is organizing this together with SME. And it's Heidi Hjelten from Sikkerhetsledelse. I have to use the Norwegian word for that company. And I know you have a previous experience also from PST, the Norwegian security authorities. Last but not least, the greenest skirt I've seen in Arendal today, but I know
Isn't
that
it great?
Yeah, it's great. It's Technicolors, I've learned.
Close.
Close to Technicolors.
Yeah, it's been carefully picked.
Yeah. So Elisabeth Haugsbø, who is the president and leader of Techna. So heartily welcome to you all.
Thank you.
And the first question I would like to start with is actually, if you're running a company with 10, 20, 50 or 100 employees, what should you actually be thinking about when it comes to use of AI? And what should you be doing? What's the one issue you think SME leaders are currently underestimating about AI? So I just start with you.
Well, I think we should start with AI is no longer just an IT issue. It's a issue that concerns the whole company. It concerns the people, the HR, the economy. So you need to start with the culture, the security culture. Yeah, that's one thing I would recommend.
Yeah.
And I mean, in my introduction, I'm also a cybersecurity professional. I work with that in addition to be my role as the president of Techna. So in that work, I also work closely with SMB companies. So, and I can agree. It's like it's been what do you call it? Carefully underestimated. Really underestimated how effective AI can be on
manipulation.
Manipulate, but I would say destroying the security culture. Because previously we talked about shadow IT, which has been a big part of especially smaller companies, but also bigger companies, because you think some of the employees think it's more practical to have their own things and their own software, and it works a little bit better. I even have companies where some of the employees have their own computer, their own devices, because it's so it restricted these icky company computers. So we see kind of like the same thing with AI, because it's kind of like surprised the management at some point, because but it's kind of software, it's kind of harmless, and then you don't take charge in telling your employees how to use AI. Which of these licenses or algorithms should you use and should you not use? What kind of customer data or internal data should you use or should you not use for this? But this, in order to do these kind of evaluations, you need also to have competence when it comes to how this actually looks and how it works. So in a smaller company where competence is something completely different than AI, in most companies it's a very hard exercise. So I kind of understand how they kind of like have leaned back and thought, well, maybe IT will figure this one out as well, like that it kind of did with cybersecurity. But I think that's kind of like the world that the smaller companies are living in, and I totally understand. But when it comes to my role as a president, where we have like 119,000 members, they are also telling us the same thing, because we had an questionnaire a couple of years ago where we kind of asked our members, okay, so at your workplace, how much of a strategic decision was introducing AI? And there's like these shocking numbers where 60-70% are answering, well, it was kind of by accident. And this is how it is. So it's kind of scary.
Artificial intelligence should never be a decision maker. It can be supporting your decisions, but it's the humans that takes the decisions. The accountability will still remain human. AI can never replace that. So therefore, I think we need to be very careful about we need to protect our decision making. Much more now. You need to verify. You need to work on trust. You need to know, why do we use AI here? When should we use AI? Why does we get this information? Where did the information come from? There are a lot of people out there, and this is not to be, I don't want to scare anyone or make this, but there is a lot of people and systems, that want to give us a disinformation. They want to put us out of our comfort zone. So therefore, you need to verify. That's extremely important. Verify.
But I think also from my perspective, I hand over the word to you in 2 seconds. But I think also from my perspective, I think maybe there is a use. It's a question actually. Is there a use for more guidelines in companies on how to use AI, and which AI motors to use or platforms to use, and which one not to use? Because, and you also see a lot of articles around on the internet and also in the newspapers today, partly generated by AI. So, but absolutely, it's a need for quality assurance. But my question is actually, do we need more guidelines or a more conscious attitude from the management team on this? So that's my question, Heidi.
Sorry. We need more awareness around that, and we need to know why we use AI. We need to have a thought-through decision when you use AI and not. And we need to know when and where does your employees, your decision makers, when can you put your information into into systems with agents, and when can you not? It's quite that's quite important. Maybe.
Do you want to comment on it as well?
If I may.
Yeah, I saw you lifting your microphone.
Always want to comment. So I just want to build on this, because I mean, SMBs are the 99% of all companies in Norway, and we tend to forget that most SMBs are around 10 employees. So within those 10 employees, you need to have management. You need to have the core competence for whatever this company is delivering. And then now we also have to have kind of extensive competence on how AI is working and developed, and et cetera, et cetera. it's a little bit long shot. It's a little bit long shot to expect that all of these smaller companies are able to do this. So, as your question is like, do we need more guidelines? Well, there are a lot of guidelines, but that's what they are. They're guidelines. You
Yeah.
still have to have the competence within the company to use the guidelines such that you can actually get some value out of them. So, oh hey, cheers. So that's kind of like the limbo that most of these smaller companies are like working within, and what they usually are forgetting is that within their employees, most of them actually have a lot of qualified competence to help the management do these decisions, and that's we see it within our what do you call it? Tillitsvalgte, company representatives, something like that. They are actually very helpful in these kind of processes, even though the company is only 10 employees. But also, I mean, obviously you can have consultancies, but you still need to understand, you need to like transfer the competence from whatever consultancy company you're using it into the company and actually make decisions. And I also think it's very important that the management take charge in these decisions, because I do experience, and also that's what some of our members are telling us, that the leadership is kind of like just outsourcing this responsibility, kind of like what they did with cybersecurity. Because like, well, we have this guy down in IT, he will probably think of something cool, and then we can just do whatever. So what you're saying is that they need to understand the responsibility that they actually have for within the company, but also for the clients.
Yes, but I would also say the accountability.
Yeah.
Because there's a difference there. Yeah.
But from a cybersecurity point of view, and if we forget about the AI hype for a moment, where are you, Abhishek, actually seeing AI create measurable value for smaller businesses? So take into consideration the cybersecurity issue also when using AI.
Yeah. Thank you. See, if you first see, I'll put this into two buckets. So first of all, the rate of or the velocity of changes is way beyond than SMBs can think of. So last few weeks or few months, if you've been observing, the rate of change of AI is more than even most of us can believe. We were just talking about generative AI, a couple of years back. Now we're talking about agentic, we're talking about quantum coming. So first of all, in my view, you should be aware of that this is happening. This is happening at a faster pace that no one ever imagined in their life, right? Now, the opportunity which is coming back to your question, right? And also keeping security in mind, right? So SMBs cannot stay away from this. So they have to embrace it. Otherwise, it won't take you much time to be relevant in the industry as well, right? And there are many examples. If you look at from the global market, they kind of pushed against the technology, and sooner they realize that they are not going to be benefited from the changes happening, right? But with cybersecurity in mind, it is also a double-edged sword, right? So it is one, enabling businesses, and second, also introducing a lot of threats. And threats are not just coming from a perspective of use of AI. Threats are coming from a perspective the threat actors are using AI. So you can imagine if a SMB is not kind of introducing the use of AI in their cyber defense programs, use of AI in the protection of their assets. It is being used at a very, very faster pace and very, very pertinent way by the threat actors, right? So most of if you look at the attacks in recent worlds, be that be phishing, deep fakes, targeted smear phishing attacks are all AI enabled, right? I don't know how many of you have been observing in the political spectrum as well. The most of the videos getting generated are all AI generated videos, right? And it is very easy for us to kind of get impacted by that, right? So that's one. See, I think one thing which you should also think is when you are thinking of opportunity from the AI perspective, and Heidi spoke about it, and Elizabeth, also using it in a careful way. Think of it. This is that AI cannot be a decision maker. It has to be an enabler for a small and medium enterprises. And many a times AI would hallucinate, right? If it is hallucinating, it is giving you wrong decision. We are introducing AI in very, very critical systems. You can imagine, I don't know how much have you been following the suicidal AI attempt that happened in the US quite recently. So those use cases where AI killed the AI agent killed himself or herself, right? I don't know whether AI is a him or a her, right? So these are the practical challenges which is bringing to the industry, and SMBs are not far touched away from this, in my view.
But thank you. You could have been a politician because you have learned to hold the microphone. but for a long time, because they never let go when they first have got the microphone in their hand. But that's something we have experienced here several times today, even today here in Arendal. But how should a small SME organization distinguish between a genuinely valuable AE application and something that's basically hype? Because there's a lot of things that are not so useful out there as well. So how should we? How can we organize those and distinguish between what is good and what is bad?
Okay, I can't see you, so you have to like make noise or something, or I have to trust that you're able to do this. So I think the question shouldn't be how to use AI. The question should be, what problem are we trying to solve? And that answer might include AI or it might not. And I think this is the difference between kind of like the hype and that's the reality. But to answer this question, you need competence. So I'm kind of like just circling around back to that. And because not all companies need to use AI for everything. And I just have to remind you all that SINTEF has done extensive research per now, at least, and they haven't really found that you are able to get efficiency out of using AI. And I can also say that in our members, especially those who are working within development, they are getting something that we're now calling AI fatigue, which is that they're so tired of cleaning up after someone else or themselves been using AI that they're like tired, like getting over it. So I think this is like, the question is like, maybe the pendulum is like kind of like coming back to us figuring out how to use AI correctly. But I think for the starter thing should be, what are you trying to solve, or what is the problem? And then you kind of like backtrack, how are you then going to solve it? And maybe AI is the answer, but maybe not.
But is it a problem also, because that's something I have thought of many times, is it a problem that you share a lot of potentially employees can share a lot of sensitive information about the company out to AI motor, and you have in practical no protection of that information, because the motor will reuse that information, and it could even be stock sensitive information without the company knowing that there is an employee using AI extensively. So that's also an issue that should be covered in a way.
Yeah, that's why you need to like take all your information, go through what can be out there, what cannot be out there, what is your secrets, what do you really want to protect, and you need those guidelines we were talking about earlier, and then you need to make your employees aware and give them competence, as you were mentioning, about why and how we use AI. And some employees will probably be a little bit concerned. They are restricted. They don't want to use AI, and those I think you should empathize with. You should, okay, let's take a step back then and go through this once more. Try some questions. Okay, what if we use it this way? What if AI? What if we got manipulated? What if this got out of our hands? You need those exercises, tabletop exercises. Yeah.
So the way Dag, if I may bring a perspective. So first of all, let's
keep the microphone tighter.
Is it okay now?
That's okay.
So first of all, if you look at in terms of there is a misconception in the industry, right? I think if you are using any of the frontier model, which is, people talk about ChatGPT, Anthropic, right, Gemini, right? If you're using it, Doug, if and this is for the industry to first believe that any data goes there, you don't know where it goes. So you really can't have controls no matter you're using, and sorry, I'm hoping the friends from the tech fraternity around Microsoft and all are not here. So the reality is the metadata definitely goes outside. So you really can't control. So there is a real need of education to the employees in terms of what to put and what not to put in a prompt, right? So that's point number one. When you start moving from a generative AI to agentic AI use cases, right? So you're again training the agents on certain set of data. So that data is a combination of your data and the data that you're taking from any mainstream frontier model, right? So any data which is being fed into them is again gonna go out to a certain extent. You can't control it, right? So it again becomes very important that when you're looking at agentic or use of AI, extremely careful in terms of what do you want to expose to these frontier models. And no matter what they say, you can't stop it because that's against the fundamental of the way the AI as a technology is being built of, use of data from a learning standpoint, right? I think that's one. I'll also come back to a point which Heidi was about to make, the AI fatigue. Sorry, Elizabeth, you were trying to make, right? So the reality is, knowing what use cases are you're trying to solve is extremely important. Because if you don't understand that, you will end up paying more than what you are currently paying to your own employees and your team who are building the platforms and solutions for you, right? So if you look at, there are many customers who are now coming back to a traditional dev model because when they realized, and something, if I'm using a bit of Java, there's a token cost, for example, right? So whenever you are in a very layman's term, I say you put a prompt in a chat GPT, every transaction is a token, right? Now imagine if a developer is building a platform, a packaging company is looking at solutions around packaging. Think of a lawyer sending up a query to a chat GPT, everything is cost, right? Now, if you don't know what you're trying to solve, right, or what you're trying to address to a point with Elizabeth make, the use of AI going to be way more costlier than using humans. So that's knowing what to be solved is extremely important, Doug.
I'd like to shift a little bit the subject here also, because with AI, I think it also generates enormously opportunities for criminals. Because as it is today, and if you are running a small and medium-sized company, I mean, you can have potentially even someone appearing in a video meeting may not actually be who we think they are, and it could be an email, it could be a voice on the telephone, and everything can be generated. So you believe you're talking to someone you trust, and you're actually talking to some criminals. So it opens a lot of opportunities also for criminals. And do you have any thoughts on how should we cope with these threats, and how should we cope with this? Elizabeth, you can comment on it first, maybe.
I'm guessing you want to say something as well here, Heidi. So, I mean, I don't think I don't think AI is particularly special in that kind of question. Yes, AI has enabled a lot of what we used to call script kitties. So when I used to do ethical hacking before, many years ago, and then it was like we didn't have AI, so it was kind of like purely your know-how. So the field of experienced hackers were fairly limited. But right now, I mean, AI can do hacking for you. So even the script kiddies are dangerous right now. Nevertheless, it's still cybersecurity hygiene that helps the company. So it doesn't really matter if script kiddies got this awesome tool to work with or not, because the threats are, yes, they are maybe more efficient or worse or whatever, but it's still there. It used to be there. So you're still stuck with explaining how basic cybersecurity is. So your example, like, okay, someone might call you up, say, pretending to be your CFO or pretending to be someone who you recently talked to. It might sound like this person, at 100%, but it's not. And then okay, then your employee should know that the CFO would never call you and ask you to do such a thing because you have processes for this.
Yeah.
And especially for a larger sum or mediums, now it's more like these telephone cards and stuff like that. But nevertheless, this is not how we operate. So there should be ringing some bells. And this is what basic cybersecurity will help you. Even though you're a small company, even though you only have 5 employees, still this basic one will help you, even though the threat has sort of increased through AI. So I would say, like, don't be too scared. It's still like the basic hygiene that will help you.
I totally agree. And that's when you also should do the exercises and the training, you know, just thinking through what if someone is calling and like that. And the other thing is resilience, because you can't, there's nothing like perfectly secure. You can't be that. And then you have to think about resilience. What do we do if this happens? What have we thought about then, and how do we solve that? And that's also something you should go thinking through. Not only employees, not only the CEOs, but together as an organization. Yeah.
I see the time is flying. And I had a lot of questions here. So actually, we could have been discussing these subjects for hours. But I think we're trying to summarize the discussion a little bit now. But I have one last question, which I would like you to address when summarizing. That's actually about what is good enough AI governance and how cybersecurity looks like for a company, a small company. How should because the luxury of large corporations who have a CIO or a CSIO, or they have legal departments, HR departments, compliance people, and external consultants, but small and medium-sized companies, they actually don't have anything like that. So what is your advice, and to summarize it in a perspective of security issues and summarizing how to use AI, what would be your advice to a small and medium-sized company?
Well, I would start with including everyone in the use of AI. It has now come, and it won't go away. It just will increase. And start with building your security culture. Like everyone is participating. Your employees can be the first one to detect if something is off, and that should be supported. And they should not be afraid to report if they do something stupid as well. If they suddenly opened that email or believed it was the CEO who were calling or another leader. So because you need every one of them, and then you have to protect your decision making. You really have to protect your decision making, and you have to verify everything. Go through where are we going to use AI and where are we not going to use AI. Yeah, I think that's my key points.
Heidi. Heidi, Elisabeth.
Good points. I think you kind of touched upon it, and I touched upon it earlier. It's the whole question around being conscious around the software you bring into the company. So AI is not something that's like, it's not a super god or something. It's not super scary. It's kind of just a licensed software. It is a powerful tool, but it's still something that you have decided to bring into your company. And then you have to ask yourself, why? Why are we doing this? How are you going to use it? And it should be a part of your strategic plan. And I know historically, software hasn't been a part of the strategic plan in many companies, and especially the small ones. But this is, even though it's just a software, it's still a very powerful one. So, and it's also, it can be used for good and it can be used for bad. So it has to be a strategic decision. And I think you also touched upon it. The company as a whole needs to be a part of the strategic plan. And this is kind of familiar terrain, because most companies, they do include employees in the strategic plan. And you have to remember that even though you're a small company, and maybe especially when you're a small company, every person counts. So and there's a lot of special competence within a smaller company that needs to be heard and that needs to be included in those strategic decisions. By doing that, you will have made a conscious decision to bring in this tool, and the employees will have been a part of describing how to use it, and kind of like that's how you build from bottom up, kind of.
Abhishek, you get the final word here. So
Yeah, I see a lot of people drinking already, so I'll see the way we should look at it. One tip of advice I would want to give it to SMBs, go to a drawing board, have your 30, 60, 90 days plan, right? Most of the people forget basics, right? And Heidi and Elizabeth touched upon it in their own words, right? So when I say 30, 60, 90-day plan, list down the use cases which you're trying to address. There's a lot of shadow AI existing already. List down in terms of what models are you using today, and model could be Anthropic, ChatGPT, right? And define what set of controls are existing. How do you ensure that there's a safe use of AI, right? We're all talking about cyber. There's also a safety aspect to the use of AI as well, right? And if you can define a roadmap in terms of what you call it a strategic roadmap or a roadmap or an approach that you would want to follow to ensure what kind of controls would you want to introduce to ensure that this is being done in a secure manner. One thing is very clear, that this is going to stay. This is only going to evolve from here on, right? So we have to be prepared to be able to handle it. Whether you're a small business or you're an enterprise organization, you really have to have certain hygienes in place to be able to have a very safe and secure use of AI, in my words.
So I think that finalizes the discussion we had here today, and thank you so much for joining in. It's easy to lead a discussion when you have such competent people in the panel. So thank you for joining the discussion here from at the SMB tent. So I give them a warm applause for a good discussion.